Your guiding light through times of trouble, confusion, murkiness, tumult, chaos. Rush Limbaugh and the EIB network. Human Rights Campaign has slammed Phil Robertson by saying, "We know that being gay is not a choice that someone makes, and that to suggest otherwise can be incredibly harmful." But substitute heterosexual for gay and see how it sounds. We know that being heterosexual is not a choice someone makes, and that to suggest otherwise could be incredibly harmful. Well, Phil Robertson didn't make the choice to be a heterosexual, so why attack him for talking like one? And if you turn this stuff all around, it's an interesting perspective. Now, I had a lot of people email me when they first heard about this, and then they were wringing their hands. I said, well, Rush, now we had the liberals win again. We had this great show. He had this great family down there, the Robertson family, got their duck call business, Duck Dynasty. And why do people on our side keep talking to the liberal media? Why would Phil Robertson, who doesn't care about the way he looks, do an interview in GQ? Why, Rush? Why? Can you explain this to me, Rush? Because the liberals have won again. A&E has shut up Phil for quoting the Bible and offering a rather obvious opinion on why straight men love women. I mean, he kind of nailed that, if you want to know the truth about it. No, I'm not going to get into repeating it here, but he offered a pretty straightforward reason why straight guys like women. It made perfect sense. But then that's when I started looking into this. I'm not so sure, folks, and it's too soon to know, but I'm not so sure that this is a loss in the traditional sense. I'm not so sure this is a loss like it would be with the Republican Party caving, doing something stupid, and then begging forgiveness or any of that. And I'll tell you why. As I've looked into this, it's become clear to me, and maybe if there are ardent fans of Duck Dynasty out there, you can correct me on this, but it seems to me that one of the main reasons that these guys are doing this TV show is to spread the word of God. They don't need the money, and I don't mean that in the liberal sense, meaning they've got more than their share. Their business is just going gang, but they don't need to do a TV show to have the lifestyle that they have. And they don't seem to me to be the kind of people seeking fame and red carpet kind of parties, and they're not seeking out the E! Entertainment Network or TMZ or any of that. And then you find out that Phil is a man who was near destruction because of the way he was living, and who found Christ and has credited Christ with saving him. And you put two and two together and you figure out that this TV show has been a way for Phil Robertson to express his beliefs in a subtle way. They don't stand up there and preach. They don't point fingers and any of that, but they clearly live that lifestyle. And they do it with pride. They're not ashamed of it, and they don't apologize for it. And they've been getting more attention than anybody else on cable TV. So they've attracted a lot of attention. They've gotten a lot of eyeballs watching what they're doing and listening to what they're saying. It has allowed them to model, if you will, and talk about their way of life, which happens to be Christian way of life, which I think is why Phil did the GQ interview. I don't think he's afraid of telling me, any of these people, what he thinks, what he believes. I don't know him, just a wild guess here. But I'll tell you, it could be, and this we're not going to know for a while, but I've always thought at some point a tipping point is going to be reached. At some point, the majority of people are going to get fed up with being lectured to and controlled by such a minority of the population. I think a lot of people are sick and tired of being pushed around by a very small minority of leftists who use weapons like political correctness and censorship, intimidation, and everything else in order to shut up the people who say things they don't want to hear or disagree with. Now, the gay population is 2% of the country, and I mean, it's like we were talking about yesterday. Liberals are just scared to death to say anything critical of Muslims. The Democrat Party, the left, will not go, just won't go there. No matter what, they will not say anything critical. And I think, by the same token, conservatives are terrified of saying anything about gay population, because the gay population is represented by, or they're fronted by, the militant political gay element of a gay population. It's not all liberal, and it's not all militant, and it's not all Democrat, but the face of it is. And I think people are intimidated by it. It's, at some point, Phil Robertson, I don't know what kind of connection the Robertson family had with their audience. This is a key thing. And as somebody that's not watched the show, this I don't know. And what I mean by this is, did the audience have a personal bond with the Robertsons? Do they love them? Would they go to the mat for them? Would they have a deep appreciation for what they're doing, and when they get in trouble, not abandon them? If that kind of relationship exists between Phil Robertson and his family and the audience of that show, then there could be an effervescing tipping point taking place out there beneath the surface right now that nobody's aware of, fed up with this. Phil Robertson never did anything to anybody, and he still hasn't done anything to anybody. He's the only one that's been really discriminated against here. He lost his gig at the Duck Dynasty show. So I don't know. It's long overdue. At some point, there's going to be this, maybe a generational thing. It may be an issue-related thing. It may be something related to an event. But at some point, enough people are going to say, okay, enough with this. And they're going to stand up and say, just shut up. You know, we're tired being pushed around here by 5, 10%, whatever it is, the population. Or if you take the whole liberal universe, 20% of the population. We're tired of being pushed around by you people. We don't agree with you, and we don't like what you're trying to do to the country and so forth. So maybe Phil Robertson's opened the door, and I don't know. It's just way too soon to say, and it may not be the case at all. Now, the A&E people, this is a whole different. The A&E people, they say that they are strong supporters of the LGBT movement, the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender movement. Notice they are not getting anywhere near saying that they are strong supporters of the Christian community. Now, strict numbers, the Christian community outnumbers the LGBT community by a factor of 20. A&E, given where they are, probably who runs them, who's in management there, they are going to side with the 2%, the LGBT. And they are free to do this, folks. This is what I mean by free market. I've been in and around big-time broadcasting a long time. And being suspended or fired for saying something that management or ownership doesn't like is nothing new. And it also doesn't mean that management and ownership is right. What it means is they don't want to be associated with it for what they don't want the hassle. They know, for example, that if Christians get offended, nothing's going to happen. If the LGBT group gets offended, they're going to be protested, they're going to be targeted, made fun of, whatever. They just don't want it. They just don't want any part of it. Paula Deen went through it, Food Network, over something she said 30 years ago. Now, the fact that Food Network fired Paula Deen or canceled her show doesn't mean that she should have been. This is a private business made a decision to part company with her. If they decided to take the hit over it, just as A&E has obviously decided to take the hit here, and they're going to take a big hit. I mean, biggest show on cable TV, and they have just thrown it overboard. That does not happen. And maybe the only circumstance in which it could happen is if the program has to be or happens to be related to the Tea Party or Christianity or pro-lifers or Southern Hayseed Hicks. That's an easy bunch to throw overboard if you're in top management at a major media organization today. As I say, if the regime had stepped in and forced and pressured, manipulated A&E into doing this, that would be another thing. A&E, they can do what they want to do. If they want to throw away this money and throw away the ratings, let somebody else have it, they're free and clear to do it. It's called unfettered capitalism. Like I say, if I were advising Phil, I would have said to him, yes, Phil, you got to go out there and attack capitalism right now. You've got to go out there. You've got to attack capitalism. You've got to attack trickle-down. He would say to me, I don't believe. Well, do it anyway. See if you can save yourself. Just attack trickle. That's all you got to do. Just attack trickle-down. If that doesn't work, attack me. Those are the only two chances you have saved you. Now I think it may be too late even for that.